about their evolution, biology, ecology. Let's start with the T-Rex dinosaur, possibly the most iconic predator in the history of Earth. You have deeply studied and written about their evolution, biology, ecology, and behavior. So let's first maybe put ourselves in the time of the dinosaurs and imagine we're standing in front of a T-Rex. What does it look like? What are the key features of the dinosaur in front of us?
It's gigantic. It's almost trite now because everyone knows T-Rex is massive. But yes, if you actually stand in front of one, you would be seriously impressed just how absolutely vast they are. So I've got a copy of a T-Rex skull downstairs from my office. And yeah, I could fit comfortably through its mouth. So it would be just about capable of swallowing me whole, and I'm a pretty big guy.
Your body, you can fit in its mouth.
I can fit through it.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's not even a particularly big one. It's a copy of the one that's in the Smithsonian. And they get bigger than that.
You have a 2-scale copy.
Yeah.
Of
yeah, it's a cast. So it's just a giant mold made and then pulled out like the dentist do your teeth, but very, very big. So yeah, they are 12-ish meters long. So what's that? 14 yards. 4.5, maybe 5 to the top of the head standing up. So another 6 yards high. And then 7-ish metric tons. What's that? About 8.5 short tons. So a colleague of mine, Tom Holtz, described them as an orca on land. That's it. It is a killer whale-sized animal, but on legs on land. And those are massive predators. So you're looking at something absolutely colossal. And I think that is what will stun you. I think people don't realize how big a lot of animals are, which sounds weird. But I used to work in a few zoos, and something I think you notice is when you go and see things like elephants or giraffes or rhinos, everything's built to the scale of the animal. The elephant house is huge. The doors are huge. The bars are huge. The food is huge. And so you don't see them in the context of something that you have a good frame of reference for. And I learned this, when I was at London Zoo and was going into the basement of the old elephant and rhino pavilion, and a rhino stuck its head out from like this gap in the wall. And the head was twice the size I thought it was once you stood next to it. And the same with an elephant. I once stood next to an elephant closer than you are to me now. And you go, oh, they are so much bigger than I thought. And I think it's similar in museums. Like, even when you get up relatively close to a T-Rex skeleton, there's a bit of space between you and it, and then some bars, and then it's usually raised up a little bit on a little mount to hold the platform, and then you stand back from that, and you don't actually get to stand like under them. And when you do that, you realize that the foot finishes at my knee.
So is a T-Rex bigger than an elephant? Would that be fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, a very large savanna African elephant is 5 to 6 tons. And we're looking at 7+. And a biped. And a carnivore. So a big lion is 200 kilos. So 430 pounds. Yeah.
Well, that's why I mean it's widely considered to be probably the most epic predator in the history of Earth.
Yeah, right? I mean, and I think more than that, I think it's one of the most iconic animals, period. I mean, if you're listing things that the average person has heard of, lion, elephant, giraffe, tiger, hippo, rhino, there's a few more, but T-Rex is coming somewhere up in that list. That's how prominent it is as an animal. So, yeah, it's almost inescapable as a paleontologist, and then doubly so for me who works on dinosaurs, and doubly so again because I do work on tyrannosaurs, that, it just dominates conversations.
Well, some of the other features maybe we can go through.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Big skull, big head, small hands.
Massive head, very kind of boxy. It's very robust. Big forward-facing eyes. Massive eyes, I mean, tennis ball-sized eyes. These things had amazing eyesight. Giant teeth. There's a cast of a
What?
Tyrannosaurus rex
What?
tooth. Yeah, I know. So
How?
It looks a bit bigger than it is. So this is all root. So this would be stuck in the jaw. This would be supporting
but that tip
it.
part is
But
that's the tooth.
The tip, as you call it. And yeah, you know, so that would comfortably go through pretty much any part of it. And then you realize just how thick it is. So this is a cast of a thing called Carcharodontosaurus from Africa. You get it down in Niger and a few other places like that. And they're very, very big. Not as big as T-Rex, but not a million miles away. And then if you look at the teeth in profile, they're a surprisingly similar shape. And not far off in size as well. And then you look at them that way on, and you realize it's a third of the width. So this isn't just massive, it's thick. And of course, being thick, it makes it strong. And with that giant head, with all that extra bone, and then all the extra musculature attached to that giant head, they've got this uber powerful bite and the ability to just chomp through basically anything it wants to. So yeah, they are truly unusual in that regard. Even actually compared to a lot of the other very big tyrannosaurs, they're often a kind of step above in their proportions.
So incredible crushing power in the jaw.
Yeah. And then, as you say, like this really short bull neck, because you've got this massive weight of this head up front, so you need to hold it up and not tip forwards. Really quite a massive body. Again, there's 2 or 3 other big carnivorous dinosaurs, which people argue, oh, maybe they're a little bigger than T-Rex, maybe they're a little smaller, but it's always in terms of length, which is one way of looking at things. You know, pythons are very long, but they're nothing like as massive as, yeah, a lion or a tiger. Same thing. T-Rex is massive. It is built. So really big kind of barrel-shaped chest, making the body very, very big as well. And so that's why, yeah, there's things like Giganotosaurus and Mapusaurus from South America. Maybe they get a bit longer, another meter or so in length. But in mass, we're talking about maybe only 2/3, 3/4. So T-Rex is just massively bigger than basically any other big carnivore we know of. And then, yeah, little arms, as you say. So this is a not great, but it's a cast of a T-Rex arm. It's not the biggest animal. They do get a bit bigger than this. But as I love showing, it's not a million miles off the size of my own. And I could do with a diet, but I don't weigh 7 tons. So, yeah, it really is really pretty small.
2 claws, 2 fingers.
Yeah, so 2 fingers. You'll see sometimes that they say there's a third. This is a slight misnomer. So you do see this extra little bone here. This doesn't turn up in all of them, and it's an extra hand bone. So it's the metacarpals, but it's not supporting an extra digit.
So mostly functionality-wise, it wasn't very functional.
They're not doing very much at all. You know, this is what's called the deltopectoral crest. It's really important for basically big arm movements because it's deltoids and pectorals. The radius and ulna are really quite thin, thinner than ours. The fingers are pretty stocky. The claws look big and curved, and they are, but other tyrannosaurs, and indeed other carnivores generally, much more curved claws. And then they have these little things. Oh, where can I say it? So there you can see there's a little mark. That's a ligamentous pit. And so what you can imagine is if you're trying to hold on to something and something's wriggling, you want grip.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a risk that you just like dislocate your fingers. So we have ligaments that hold bone to bone. And if you just put it flat to flat surface area, there's only so much you can attach. Whereas if you turn that into a little hemispherical dip, you get a lot more surface area for your area.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you have a really big ligamentous pit, it means there's a really big ligament, which means your fingers are really strong and they're really resistant to being wiggled around and pulled as if, you know, you've grabbed something that doesn't want you to kill it. Well, T-Rex has probably the smallest ligamentous pits of any tyrannosaur. So that kind of suggests it's not doing very much. And again, when you look at the claws, proportionally, they're not that big and they're not that curved. So even though it looks like quite a wicked thing to us, remember, put this on a 7-ton animal whose individual teeth are the size of entire fingers. Suddenly that arm doesn't look like it's doing very much.
What about the feet?
So massive. Again, not surprisingly, you're supporting a colossal amount of weight, but they have this beautiful adaptation in the foot. So the equivalent bones in the foot, the metatarsals, so for us make up the flat of the feet, but these animals walk like birds. They've got 3 toes on the ground, and then the metatarsals stick nearly vertically. And that overall extends the length of the leg, so you can walk a little bit faster. You get a slightly bigger stride length. Don't worry, I've got the right bone here.
Nice.
But they also have, yeah, there's a good one. That one's a great one. But they also have this really neat adaptation in the middle bone. So you can see it on this one quite well. And that this is actually not a tyrannosaur. This is an ornithomimosaur. So one of the really ostrich-like ones, Gallimimus from the first Jurassic Park.